Good evening and welcome to another program of Live from Region Number 2. My name is Sherwin Holder. I'm the chairman of the People's National Congress Reform and also the member of parliament for Region Number 2. So I want to extend a special welcome to each and every one of you and to advise or to ask that you share the live far and wide so that we can have a good audience tonight. We have a packed program, and at this point, I want to welcome our guests, our new guests, first guest on the program, Comrade Elson Low.
Good to be on. Good to be on.
He's an economist and also advisor to the leader of the opposition, the office leader of the opposition. So welcome, Elson.
Thank you.
And I do look forward to a fruitful discussion this evening on issues in Region 2. Folks, on this program, we look at issues affecting the residents in Region 2, whether it's infrastructure, well, I shouldn't say affecting, but general issues in Region 2, whether it's projects, in infrastructure, in education, health, public transportation, whatever area is affecting the people of Region 2. We discuss it, and also we discuss national issues that can have an impact also on the people of Region 2. So we do not restrict it solely to issues in Region 2, but we try to work, mainly have a focus on the issues relating to Region 2. We try to keep it region specific. So Elson, I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion, and I'm hoping that our viewing audience do us the honor of sharing the live. Just share the live, continue to share it to your family members, share it to your community members, share it to persons within your NDC, all across the region. Folks in the Pomeroon, I'm seeing some folks logging in from the Pomeroon. Yes, I can see folks from Marlborough. I can see folks from Karawab, as far as Karawab. You know, Karawab is I would say the last major village, or maybe you can say the first major village up the Pomeroon River.
Okay. Sure.
And it is good to see persons logging in from Karawab.
Yeah, absolutely.
A special good night to the people of Karawab. I am very familiar with the folks there. I've been to Karawab several times before I became MP and also after I became Member of Parliament. My last visit there was with the leader of the opposition. We carried a team in there and we addressed a number of issues. And you would recall shortly after that, the government granted a riverine grant. And so, it was a good thing.
Well, that is a recurring trend. Just the other day, the leader and I were in Beefield Sophia. And all of a sudden, the ministers in Beefield Sophia saying they're going to do the roads. I don't know. I guess these roads,
we welcome that. As an opposition, our goal is to scrutinize the government wherever they're lacking. We need to highlight those issues, represent the people, and to ensure that the government is doing what they're supposed to do. They're made to account for everything that they do, and so we're happy. If they want to follow us around, no problem. It means that we're achieving what we set out to achieve.
One of the things we can tell your viewers is, if you want your road fixed, just invite the leader of the opposition. And
exactly. It
doesn't
matter if you support
or not.
You just invite the leader of the opposition.
And your problem.
Look. There was a function, it makes me think about this function that you had last weekend in the US, in New York, where you had the Attorney General speaking, you had locals from Guyana, you had former Commissioner of Police Paul Slow, you had a number of persons from Guyana explaining the situation in the country, and especially with a great focus on discrimination. And then suddenly what happened? You had your finale running into... then I'm still with the entire ministry, his most of his cabinet members, the entire ministry, and speaking with people there. We don't mind that. We don't mind that, because if we don't do these things, then there wouldn't be a focus. There wouldn't be a focus on those communities.
Well, as I was saying, I guess the road wasn't there was no problem with the road before we came. We came, and all of a sudden they're come to fix the road. It's just pretty.
Folks, share the life. Share the life. We have a packed program tonight. I know Elson is a walking encyclopedia, a dictionary, all in one. So he has a lot to say. We have a packed program. My intention is to develop this program, let it be region specific, to highlight all the issues in Region 2. I have a number of people calling me daily. Up to today, I had several calls from persons as far as Lower Pomeroon area. Wow. I had people calling me in PPP Stronghold just today to asking me to highlight certain issues on this program.
Good.
But unfortunately, I cannot highlight all of them tonight. We're dealing with public infrastructure, or as they call it, public works, and health specifically tonight. Region specific. And share the life, folks. Just share the life.
One thing I would remark to your viewers, which I find entertaining, is I've had you on my show, and now I'm here on your show.
Yeah, I thought that it was very important to have a regional program. And in fact, we should have programs in every region, because everyone is not focused on national politics. People can relate to local politics, the local issues that affect their daily lives. I know later in the program we'll be talking a little about the cost of living. And so, but we'll save that for the main course tonight. We can't spill the beans yet. So share the life, folks. We have a packed program, very, very packed program tonight. Oh, let me just say that Comrade Jaikaran is not with us tonight. He is otherwise engaged, and so we expect him on future programs, but he's not here tonight with us due to personal reasons, some emergencies that he had to deal with. So he's not here tonight, but we expect him on future programs. And so we want to get straight into tonight's topic. And so we will begin with public infrastructure, public works, as they would refer to it, as they gazetted the ministry. Before we get to what is happening now in 2022, or in this period, 2020 to 2022, Elson, I want to just briefly discuss the state of the country in terms of public infrastructure, public works, and just give for us to speak a little about historically where we came from and where we are today. But very quickly, because we really want to get to the issues, the current issues. But getting into the state of the country currently, I don't know your thoughts, but what I see is government that is exposing its incompetence in terms of coming up with an approach, an infrastructural program, or an approach that is modern, that will meet the requirements of what is required today. I saw in the newspaper about 1,000, I think it's a newspaper article from, I don't know if it's GRA, I believe it's GRA, and more than 1,000 vehicles come to this country every month. And so now what I see, what they're attempting to do now should have been done a very long time ago. Of course, they would try to argue that we were in government, XYZ, but it should have been done even prior to 2015.
Well, I'd say two things on that I think are right to be interesting. The first is that, former Minister Patterson was referred to as the Minister of Roads. because he resurfaced so many roads, he maintained the roads, he didn't have these endless potholes like you're seeing nowadays, and barely drive on the road. So that is one thing. If you look, we talked about Sophia. Sophia got a quite extensive road works and so on done while we were in office. So that is one starting point. But the other starting point is something that the leader of the opposition mentions, which is that when they were building Diamond, the establishing Diamond scheme, did not put in place the proper infrastructural projects to ensure that there would not be a monstrous traffic jam, which has lasted for all this time in that area. So they developed the scheme, one road in, one road out, not with any other access road to access the city other than the main East Bank Road. And as a result, they've got this tremendous traffic. So when you're now looking at the importation of 1,000 cars a month, 1,000 cars a month, and you're not seeing the adequate expansion of the road network to meet that, then you're going to see that it's traffic all over again. And while we've seen some easing of the traffic to a certain degree on the East Bank, recall that the shore bases are being built there, which will accommodate thousands of oil and gas workers. So rather than the East Bank being an area where you're passing through, rather it will be that the East Bank is where you're heading to.
Understood. So essentially, a lack of vision, a lack of proper planning.
Exactly.
Actually manufacture the situation. Yeah. But I want to just speak briefly on the history of this country. Now, post-independence from 1966, Prime Minister Forbes Burnham actually inherited a country, and the leader spoke to this, inherited a country with poor infrastructure.
Extremely.
Or it was basically non-existent, except in Georgetown and a few other areas. But you hadn't any major roads, you hadn't any major highways,
across.
No proper bridges and so. And so Forbes established that what he dubbed that decade of development, where you had the Harbor Bridge coming into play, you had major highways, the Region 3,
the
highway,
entire road network
the entire
of the
road
coast
network.
in either direction.
So you had a structured approach to infrastructure at that time. Now, when you get to, I'm moving a little fast because that's a conversation that we could really spend all night on.
Absolutely.
But when you get into the 1992 to 2015 era, there isn't much that the PPP can actually boast about in that era in terms of infrastructure, in terms of public infrastructure, public works, and what they would have achieved. Now, this program is based on Region 2, so I want to get region specific in that period.
Sure.
Now, I was born and raised in Region 2, so I can speak to this issue as a resident of Region 2. There isn't a single successful project that PPP can own, as in they envisioned it, they got the monies for it, executed it properly, and it's standing there to say, well, this is a proud achievement. One of the things that they campaigned on is the road, the main thoroughfare. But even to that, they cannot own as their own project, albeit they continued the project, but it was under the PNC, Desmond Hoyt's leadership, that the loan was signed, the plans were drafted, every single thing. And so, but the only reason why the PNC could not have started that road at that time, because there was a principle that when you get to an election period, you don't do any major infrastructural projects. So I just wanted that for the viewers of Region 2 to understand that. So then comes the PPP from 92. They took a number of years before that project could have actually got on its way. You had about 5 contractors. They changed a number of contractors. You had Technodomi, Dunzenac, Parnap, Nima. I think even BK ended up, it was completed with BK. And well, I wouldn't even say it was completed because the road was never really completed and up to standard. But the point I'm trying to make is that they cannot, that is the single major project, infrastructure project in Region 2 to date. And it is not a project that they could boast about when you look back
Yeah.
at it.
Well, I would add to that we've talked before at our press conferences about the electricity situation and need for that form of infrastructure to be made robust. Because there's no point in us generating more electricity if we're gonna have blackouts nonstop. And I know that Region Two has also had its problems with blackout as well, just as much as we've had trouble with blackout in the Demerara Borby system.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that point because during our tenure in government, we were looking at
Mm-hmm.
a solar farm. We were looking,
Mm,
in addition to what we did,
mm,
because we we kind of fast forwarding here back and forth because I
mm-hmm.
wanted to deal with that 2015 period,
Okay, sure, sure.
right? But all right, let's put that on hold. So we're talking about
Mm,
1992 to 2015 period.
mm,
Of course, blackouts. You mentioned it. You had a lot of blackouts leading up to
mm-hmm,
2015,
mm-hmm,
which caused protests,
mm, mm.
um, protests on the roads. You had rice farmers and so
Yeah, I
protesting
bet.
due to infrastructure would have been one
Yeah,
of them,
yeah,
although maybe not the major, but infrastructure certainly
sure.
was one, drainage and irrigation, and so that falls under that
Yeah, yeah.
infrastructural
Heading.
program.
Yeah.
You had the Charity Wharf was not a major project that they embarked on, but then
Mm-hmm.
you would recall that that wharf was floating away into the river, and all Esequibians know this. This
Mm.
is these are facts that all Esequibians
Yeah,
are
yeah,
fully aware of.
yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that there isn't a single project that they can boast about.
Mm,
I forgot one. You had the Anna Regina market. They built a new market,
mm.
which is still a white elephant, which they're still trying to put people
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sell there. But the residents
yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's not
they know
appropriate.
it's not the best place to go. The
Yeah,
infrastructure is not good,
yeah.
and the location and everything. So PPP generally has failed Region 2.
Mm,
And traditionally, they got votes there, they got a majority there.
mm,
So we can safely say that they failed a traditional support base for them.
mm,
A
mm.
base a base
Sure,
that turns out more than 15,000 votes for them.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
And so they have failed that region completely. But then we get to the 2015 2020 period where we came to government,
Mm,
we addressed the power issue.
yeah,
We bought new generators.
yeah.
Blackouts were almost
Eased off.
non-existent.
Yeah,
You begin to ease it. You can't ease it completely
yeah.
because
Well,
of the network that
yeah.
you're talking about. You need parallel systems, um,
Redundancies,
redundancy in
upgrades,
in
and
the
so
system.
on.
You need to
Yeah,
upgrade. So
yeah.
there's no point in continue to expand that capacity and
Mm-hmm.
you're not fixing the grid.
Absolutely,
And so
absolutely.
we began that process.
Yeah.
We put in, I think it's about 6.5 or 7.5 megawatts
Mm-hmm.
of power.
Mm,
We began to do proper roads. It is the
mm,
first time in decades that
mm,
people of Region 2
mm.
saw proper roads being
Yeah.
constructed. The PPP moved around and said to people that, well, you can't eat road. That was their end game to it. That was their solution. You can't eat roads and you can't eat lights. We lit up several communities,
Yeah, that's
put
true.
street lights, and so we were well within that program. We also developed the Supernam Waterfront project. Let
Mm,
us don't
mm.
forget that we developed that waterfront project there. Now ministers go and they take pictures there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're quite proud of
That's
it.
because we did a good job.
They exactly. We we did that. We did also major sluices, and if the operator can pull up, I don't have the pics of all the sluices that
Mm,
we did, but I can recall we did one at Three Friends,
mm,
we did one at Walton Hall,
mm,
and one at Andrews was almost complete when we left government.
mm.
And that operator, if you can pull up that first slide there, so that yes, if you can zoom in on it so that people can see this. And this is one from Three Friends.
Mm.
This is the Three Friends loose,
Yeah.
and this has benefited farmers. Essequibo is a farming
Yeah.
region,
Yeah.
Agriculture is
Yeah,
our thing
absolutely.
there. That is the major economic activity.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so you have to develop that kind of
Yeah,
infrastructure.
yeah.
And so we
Drainage is
did,
vital.
drainage is very, very vital. And so we did a number of projects there to improve the lives, to boost the economy, the
Yeah.
local economy there. Unlike what happened through from 1992 to,
Hmm.
2015 under the People's
Yeah.
Progressive Party. But I want to get now to this period, the current issue that is affecting
Hmm.
persons, because all of this is just a historical view
Mm.
and to put things into perspective. But I want to get now to the 2020, 2022 period. Now, the PPP, they know how to do this propaganda, they know
Hmm.
how to bluff, they know
Yeah.
how to bluff. Our councillors and also their councillors, we put together a budget. We made
Yeah.
representation for basically all the communities
Yeah.
in Region 2. And so there is a plan. There are works in the budget for 123 roads. 123 roads. Now, operator, if you can pull up that slide with the roads so that our viewers can see it. Look, it's way at the top on top of the red line, and it's $3.9 billion in community roads. $3.9 billion. 123 roads approved for the 2022 budget. But I will say to the people of Region 2, and I will say to the audience, more than 70%, more than 70% of those roads
Mm.
are yet to begin, yet to be completed. Some they would have started. Some are no works would have been done.
Mm. Mm.
Some no works would have been done. Some would have been started,
Yeah.
just basically graded. Some are halfway. But I'm telling you and the viewing audience that 70% of the works are incomplete. And we can look at a few. I didn't get the opportunity to go around to 123 roads because I have responsibilities also in
Yeah. Yeah.
Georgetown,
Of
you can
course. Of
imagine,
course. Yeah.
as chairman of the party. But as a regional member of parliament, I got a number of roads, I visited a number of
Sure.
areas, and that is how I recognize that most of these roads, and from reports that I'm getting,
Yeah.
most of these roads are not completed. Operator, if you can pull up the first road there, and we can look at it. That should be Rafik Street in Anne Regina. Now I don't know where they get the Rafik Street from. That is not the name, certainly not the name of that street.
Okay.
But
Really.
this is the way how we do things,
I
how
see.
the
I see.
PPP does it. So if you can pull up the picture, I think there is a photo there for Rafik Street. That is the condition.
Yeah.
Clearly, no works have begun
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Then we have a road in Love Alliance. These are communities that I would have visited. Love Alliance, it's in the budget there. You have Love Alliance and you have Charity River Dam there. So I'll deal with Love Alliance first. And if you can flip to the next slide. That is the back street, Love Alliance back street. Again, no works
Yeah.
have been done there. Not a survey, not anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Well, what
nothing
happened to the funds? Those are the
have been
questions you have to
done.
ask.
And you have Charity, if you could back up to the slide before. You have Charity River Dam there. Now, that project
Yeah.
was in the 2020 budget. This road was budgeted from 2020, budgeted again in 2021.
Yeah.
Now we are at the end of 2022, and it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
And so that is the reason why I say that they like to bluff these things,
Yeah.
because they put all these things in the budget
Yeah.
and then nothing is done. Where is the money going?
Where is it going?
One of the problems that they have, and operator, you can skip 2 slides. There are other roads there. And God, this is one in Henrietta also. I live not far from this, just a corner from here. That is the condition of this road.
Those potholes look deep, man.
And this is, I can't drive on that road.
I'm
I
telling
cannot,
you.
I do not drive on that road.
Yeah,
I
that
use
is
the other road.
ridiculous.
I use the other road.
Absolutely ridiculous.
This is the street in Henrietta, and it's also listed in the
You
in the
swim in
budget.
you swim in those potholes.
Apparently,
They look like a little lake.
we're doing. We're making a light joke of it, but this is serious. The
Yeah, it's
persons that live there, you
terrible.
have businesses. You
Yeah.
have right there. You can see in the background. You can see a
Yeah.
trailer with wood there. There's a lumberyard there.
Yeah,
There are residents living there
Yeah.
on the street, and it's painstaking to move through with your vehicle or
Yeah.
even walk on that
Yeah.
street,
Yeah.
especially when the rain falls.
Yeah.
Now you have all this money. This is oil-rich Guyana.
Yeah. Apparently.
Oil-rich
Yeah.
Guyana, and that is the situation
Yeah. Yeah.
with these works.
Money being made in the country, big oil industry. Where is the money going?
We
Clearly not
are
towards
in
roads.
November.
Yeah.
We are in November. I guarantee you that those streets cannot be done.
Mm.
Where is the money going?
Going.
Where's the money going? Part of the problem, though,
Yeah.
is the fact that what they do, they give their PPP elites, friends, families, and cronies.
Yeah. Friends, family, and
Favorites.
Favorites. Three Fs. Friends, family, and favorites.
They give these contracts to them. They load them up basically.
Yeah.
They load them up basically. I know one fellow that has hundreds of millions. In fact, there is one person in the region, or many, I don't know, maybe more, but I know of at least one of them that has more than $1 billion in contracts.
Yeah.
There are two others that have more than $500 million in contracts.
Yeah.
And so when you lump all of these works on these friends, family, and favorite, they cannot complete. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the technical competence to do it.
Exactly.
And therein is the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And so streets like Baggage Dam, the Church Street in Danielstown, I know these streets, they cannot be done.
Yeah.
Because, and Baggage Dam is a street where PPP are very popular there. They go to campaign there very often. So it's so unfortunate that they cannot do that main access road to the Richmond community.
Exactly.
And so family, friends, and favorites are the ones who are getting these contracts, and the people of Region 2 are made to suffer. Folks, share the live. We have a long discussion here. Very interesting discussion tonight. My guest, Elson Low is with me.
We've shifted roles
tonight.
I'm the guest and he's the host.
I'm usually on Elson's program. Now he's on my program.
There we go.
So we're having a discussion here on Region 2, and we're dealing with public works.
Yeah.
And all that is happening or not happening.
Exactly.
In for the people of region number 2. Now, for the streets that they would have started, many of them are not done according to specification 1. Some of them are not done in consultation with the residents. For example, I visited Hoppy Street. An operator, you can pull up Hoppy Street in the next slide. Based on complaints made by the residents there. Now we can examine this street, Elson. I don't know. I would dare ask you, what is the first observation? That's my car, by the way. But I can first ask you, what is your observation there?
The street is supposed to be white?
I'm telling you, nobody can miss this. My car is there only. That is the first complaint that the people said to me.
Well.
They said they don't want this. Why? The first thing is that it is being made too narrow. Elsa, pull up the operator, pull up the next slide. It is too narrow. Two vehicles cannot pass. Look, there is someone waiting on me at the back there. They cannot pass. By the way, the fellow who I'm talking to is Orrin Boston Sr., the guy that his son was assassinated by
really
the SWAT team, and
really
nothing
has come out of it.
Come out of that 1 year and counting. But we're talking infrastructure tonight. We'll get to that when we get there.
Exactly.
Right? If you pull up the other slide, please. Pull up the other slide. That's his wife. That's his wife.
Yes, I see.
Mistress Boston. Now, if you look carefully at the road there, it's about a foot high. It is about a foot high. So while the road is narrow, you cannot, two problems. Two vehicles cannot pass together. They cannot pass each other. And persons cannot access go into or out of their premises because obviously their vehicle will hit. You damage. One person complained to me that their exhaust was completely broken.
I imagine,
And so that is the problem there. And this happens when you do not consult. You do not look at the specifications. Mind you, you had an asphaltic road there before. How on earth did they come up with concrete road? The region needs to explain. They need to first consult with the people there to say, well, and give them the bill of quantities.
It's very bizarre to see that kind of a road there. It doesn't seem appropriate at all.
Yeah, it is not. It is not. So that is what we have to live with, the people of Region 2. And this is Dartmouth. This is a PNC stronghold. So they have no respect. They have no respect for the people of Dartmouth. They're not concerned with whatever the people want. My understanding of it, this is how you undertake a project. You first go to the community, you look at the area, you look at what exists, you speak with the residents. Sometimes they have more experience and idea.
More detailed information.
The things that they can say to you. When I was an engineer I'm still an engineer, but when I used to practice engineering in the industry, if any project that we had, I used to go not only to the top to discuss with the operators and the people at the top, I used to discuss with the sweeper cleaner there because I want to get an understanding as to how, if I install this thing, how it will affect him, how it will prevent him from doing his work.
Absolutely.
Would it affect him positively or have a negative effect, overall negative effect? That is how you do it. You must have competent people. But then again, on the other hand, sometimes you have competent people within the system, but they are not allowed to function. They are being told. What is it that the government wants. That is the way how it's done.
Yeah, well, those types of directives are never healthy directives. Really, what should happen is you assess the needs of the community, you speak to the community, and you carry out the needs. It should not be dependent upon the political directives, because what will happen, which is what we're seeing a lot, is that certain areas will be served and other areas will be neglected.
Exactly. And, at a national level, I was focusing on this just recently. I don't believe there has been a single post-cabinet briefing. A single post-cabinet briefing to say, well, these are the contracts awarded. The cabinet has given their no objection. That has been a thing of the past.
Yeah.
They were complaining that President Granger wasn't talking with the media, but you had post-cabinet briefings. The media could have asked the cabinet secretary anything and everything about contracts. They are not doing it now. For 2 years.
Wow.
For over 2 years, they've not been doing that. And you know why? Friends, family, and favorites. Friends, family, and favorites. You have persons that are not contractors, have no experience whatsoever, being given hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts. Hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts.
Well, an example of that, and we'll wait to see how this pans out, but an example of what people are concerned about is, you remember the Hits and Jams folks were given a contract to build a school, hundreds of millions of dollars.
The Bamia school.
There's a big delay now. Don't know
1 year over.
Yeah, when that school will be completed and so on. You'll recall when they were given that contract, people expressed some concern that they did not have experience in construction. All of us, lo and behold, time has passed and there's major delays on the project.
They said they know to handle money, the billions of dollars pass to them. So I think that is
so they can handle anything.
The yardstick that they use now, the PPP use to determine. It is not about competence, and there is no experience and competence. There is no element of transparency either.
Yeah, and so it is no surprise that there's.
Let me tell you what's happening at the RDC region too. They have been consistently refusing to give to our councillors the bill of quantities for any of these projects. Any of these projects. And they have the temerity to talk about, transparency. Gail Teixeira goes off and talks about transparency and all these things that they're doing, totally non-existent.
Yeah.
Now, we've already established, and if you run the list, I am prepared to give to the people of Region 2 the entire list. In fact, I will make it available on my page shortly so that people from all across the region, whether you support me, you support the other party, whichever party you support, or you don't support any party, you should be concerned about the development in your community and how it will affect you. And so I will make that document available to the public so that they can scrutinize it and they can check to see and to confirm that over 70% of these works have not started in the region. Now, on top of that, to add insult to this situation, at the last RDC, they would have announced that another 120 contracts, contracts they would have been given approval for. Approval is now given for another 120 contracts. You fail to complete 30% for the entire year of the 123. Now you're telling the public that you now have approval for 120 more contracts. Where is that money going, Elson?
Absolutely. Well, when you're faced with a lack of capacity, how are you going to spend these funds? One of the things that we've talked a bit about is that, the national budget's 4% larger than the previous year. And while, of course, we're happy to see citizens benefit from more spending, we have to look at whether or not there's actually capacity to carry out the programs that the government is saying that it wants to do. Because if there's not capacity, it raises the question as to whether or not there's waste or whether or not there's theft. There's no point spending and not getting any results. You have to spend wisely. And that is not what we're seeing in terms of the execution of a lot of these projects.
You raise an important point. You kind of tickle my brain there, because with the non-execution of these jobs, these contracts do a number of things.
Yeah.
How I see it. It provides employment. Of course, firstly, it provides the development needed in the area, but it also serves to provide employment in that infrastructure area, that construction infrastructure area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what it does, you create a budget and you look at the employment, you look at the development, but it robs the citizens of that much needed employment.
Yeah,
especially given the cost of living. Especially construction jobs tend to pay a little more. So young people, youths will be happy. Will be very happy. The youths of Essequibo do not really have jobs. Job creation is a problem in Region 2. The government promised 1,000 jobs. They eventually gave to them Barrett Jagdew. I want to call him out directly. He promised 1,000 jobs. He said about 800 in the temporary jobs. That turned out to be a big flop, because it's like less than $40,000 you carry home when you take out the NIS. So that is a great flop.
Well, that was always, I think, a very ridiculous. On the one hand, yes, you want to see people get some assistance with the cost of living crisis, but man, a $40,000 job.
It can
who
work.
Can that help?
For most people, it wouldn't work. And then he said that there would have been call centers that would give you afford 250. Now a call center was open and you had a big fanfare. I think Ashley was there.
Yeah.
And I'm still struggling to know where it is, where it's really located. It is that big, it's that huge. It employs so many people that I'm struggling to find it. You never see vacancy
I'm telling you,
advertised, but you know what the number is? I believe it's about 10 persons, 10 to 15 persons.
Yeah, wow.
That is the employment. And again, it is for friends, family, favorites, because there was no they colluded. I would think that the government colluded with that company in whatever concessions they give to them.
There's not the level of employment that I think people expected from a call center to have only a few people there. It's very unfortunate.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And what can we say? Are we surprised?
No, we're not.
Not surprised. We're
We're
just
we're
disappointed.
we're not. We're not. We're not. As an Escribian, I'm so disappointed. I know you have
Yeah,
roots. You have roots
exactly. My
in
family's from Dartmouth as well. So
yeah, yeah. So you're an Escribian. Great, great. No better choice to come on the program. No, but if we get back to the 120 roads that
yeah,
these additional
sure.
roads, now we asked them, our counselors, our lead counselor stood up and asked the question, please, sir, please give us the list
Yeah.
of these roads so that we can know. And he asked the question, who came up with this list?
Yeah.
Because we're counselors here and we represent all these different areas, local areas. And so it is us who would supposed to put this together because we are the persons, we are the counselors.
We'll be able to assess it.
There is some phantom committee that they claim that put together this new list. A phantom committee, I would term it that, because nobody knows who put together this list.
Yeah.
And then when asked to produce the list, what did they say? They said, well, it's not finalized. So you announced it. And if we go back, I'm sorry I don't have the clip where they announced it on the RDC page and it was in the news. 120 roads to be completed. That's just a few weeks ago. But this list is not finalized. You understand? When you ask them for the bill of quantities, there's always some kind of excuse because they want this skullduggery. So continue.
Is very classic, and that is from on the micro level when it comes to roads, and then on a macro level when it comes to huge infrastructure projects like the gas and shore project, where there's not been any kind of ample explanation as to why the project is doubled in cost. You're talking about huge sums. Really, it is doubled in terms of an extra 1.2 billion that it now costs, which is absurd. And of course, the opposition has called for an updated feasibility study. That word feasibility study. They don't like to hear about that. No. Feasibility study. That's crazy.
That is a foreign language with the PPP. They are not accustomed to that.
To see what it actually costs.
No. You wouldn't want that. The fiber optic cable, the Skeldon factory, the Amelia Fault. And this is the legacy of Bharat Jagdeo. I do not understand. I do not understand why. Just check your mic, Elson. I do not understand. Some people try to put Jagdeo as this. I heard some person said he's so smart, he's do this, he's so that, he's an economist and all these things. I don't doubt that he's an economist, but show to us a single project that he would have conceived and it's now
I'll put it to you in a simple way. The PPP ran the country for 23 years straight. Why didn't the country develop? Why were Guyanese still living punishment lives over the course of that 23 years? They had a good, solid stretch of 23 years.
Yeah.
If they're such experts and so on, why is the country still not developed?
Yeah. Now, I want to pull up the next slide, the Charity Wharf. We're talking about infrastructure. We talk about the old wharf. And operative, you can pull up that. Now, this is the condition. And we can go through there 2 or 3 slides there. We can look at it. Residents have been complaining about this. Residents have been complaining bitterly about this. That is where a lot of items, a lot of produce are being offloaded. You have boats coming in from up on Lower Pomeroon River. You have the boats coming in from the Moruca sub-region from all the way in Region 1. And you have elderly has to use that wharf. You have kids have to use. And generally, people, And so that is the condition.
It looks like the slightest thing you could fall through, man. That looks like a pothole in of itself.
And one Ejil gets out there and he speaks, on top of his voice and he shouts about infrastructure and improvement. But all over this country, all over the region, we can see his failings. I I had a little chuckle the other day. I saw somebody put up something like bring back Patterson. And they were, and so, when you compare what the APNO AFC did and our plan, our plan for Region 2. Now, this very charity wharf, this very waterfront, we had planned to do it in a similar way as we did for charity, as we did for Supernam, as we did for the Supernam waterfront.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had a similar plan. We had a plan. I'm sorry I don't have a clip to show persons of what it would have looked like, but they know the government is fully aware of that plan, and so they had talks about it since 2020. And operator, if you can pull up the slide, if you can go through there 2 or 3 to get to, that is still the charity wharf. We're talking the waterfront and how ridiculous it is. And if you go to the next slide, now go to the other slide, please. Now there you have one Edge Hill, and if you look at it, it's 2020, and he's talking about regularizing the waterfront and to make it look good and all these different things. But that is 2020. We're in 2022. You inherited a comprehensive plan from the APNU AFC, but you're failing. This government is failing to execute. They want to see, the first thing about it is that if they can't make money on this project, then it's not good. It's not good. The second thing, they want to see how they can own the project. So they push it back as far as possible and hope that people forget. And then they come bam with it. And so this is now a PPP's project. It's an APNU AFC project. Just get the damn thing done. Get it over with. The people are suffering. The people are suffering. And it's very, very unfortunate. Since 2020, we had planned that, and we had planned to upgrade the entire carriageway. We were forward thinking. We were thinking about the future. Yesterday, I was in Anna Regina. Not yesterday, 2 days before. I was in Anna Regina, and there was, traffic jam. Who would imagine Anna Regina? I grew up as a little boy there. Hardly had any cars. But now you have so many vehicles. And on market days and when you have certain activities, you get traffic jam. Now, we had a project to deal with that, to take care of the entire carriageway, to expand and operate. If I believe I may have that slide where Patterson says, Yes, 2019, May 31st, 2019. And if you look at it, you can read this slide. It says Supernam to Charity Highway expansion set for next year. We were catering to do this, to begin this project in 2020. It says the upgrade of Supernam to Charity Highway and Charity Waterfront, 2 major projects, waterfront enhancement project, are among the initiatives slated for Region 2, which is expected to be realized next year. Now, HL comes, you can go to the others. No, that's the final slide on it. But HL comes there, and he talks about regularizing. I don't know what that means. But we're talking major infrastructure development. And so 2 years down the road, we're actually going to 3, because it's 2020, now we're in 2022. So you had 2020, 2021, 2022, we're going into 2023. And I guarantee you that it will not be done. It will not be done in 2023. They're trying, however, to talk about these things and hope that people will get excited, because you know why? They have 2 things. They have the local government elections coming up. I will deal with that on a separate program. We need a whole program to deal with local government. And I might be inclined to deal with that on the next program. But on this program, I want to stress that they're talking about these projects, and that includes the 120 extra roads. They're just talking about it so that it will boost their standing for local government election. Nothing else. They will steal that money. Nothing will be realized. No project will be done. They have not even completed the 70% of. So that is what is happening. Now, if you can quickly, the time is running on us, and I know we still have to talk about. I'm going to quickly move through a few other items, and then we can get to the main course with the cost of living. And so, if you can pull up the next slide. Now, this here is in Anne Regina, center of Anne Regina, in front of the bank and one of the main shopping areas. Now, when you look at this, it's a revetment that is being done. It is being done privately. Now, I don't have a problem, and I want to make this very clear. I welcome the development. It's actually a hotel is going to be built there, a private investor, um, and it would create employment and other things for the region. It's generally a boost for the region. But I was looking at this project, and I am thinking that you are now extending out into the main. This is a main waterway for drainage in Anne Regina for the farmers at the back. It's not these big businesses in front. It's about the farmers at the back. This is a main drainage area, and now you're creating a bottleneck there. Now, if you look carefully, what they did was to throw a lot of the garbage, the stuff, um, to try and stretch the embankment. Stretch the embankment. And although they did that, you still have a space there. Now they're concreting it. If you move forward, they've now moved to concreting it. So they've changed. They seek permission to do this thing. And then now they decide that they're going to put concrete over that thing. So it's more permanent than anything else. The point, so I want to make that point that this can potentially create problems in terms of drainage. I have no problem with whether private or government do this, but then you are going to create a problem in terms of the drainage there, the amount of water, the capacity. You're reducing the capacity of the trench. That is one. But I want to suspect there that they are trying to create parking. They're trying to create parking space on the parapet, and to the expense of the farmers. To the expense of the farmers. When you have a plan, when you approve people's plan, they're gonna show you where they're going to find parking on their property. There are lots of technology available and modern designs where people park upstairs rather than on the ground, all these different things. And so when you approve that plan, there must be provision for parking and other things. You can't go and create problems to the farmers because you want parking on the road. The next point I want to make, and I'm not here to criticize the investor. I'm criticizing the actions of the government. They are the ones. And you know what? I recall when you had another private business owner, Sawaya nightclub, and Afro Guyanese. And I want to make this point because the PPP always talks about they're not discriminating and they're not doing this and they're not doing that. You had Sawaya looking to you had the erosion in front of his property. And so he looked to do a revetment, very much in line with where it was before originally, not encroaching into the channel, into the drainage channel. And he got hell to do that revetment, the basic revetment, doing the government a service. But there you have friends and family of the government could begin to block a major drainage canal at the expense of the farmers. So I just wanted to highlight that and just forward a little I'm just checking the time so that, all right, we've got some time once we do not get into Sherrod. So yes, we can forward, and you had an accident there, by the way. There's an accident today. If we can, two vehicles in the trench there. I don't know how they got there because that is certainly not the main road, and that's not a road where people drive more than 20 miles per hour. So I don't know what is going on there. It's lawlessness altogether. Now, if you can go forward to another slide, right neighboring to that project, you see in the fire in the distance there, you have a number of persons selling on a revetted area. Now, I don't have a problem with people hustling. I've represented these people on the that are hustling in the market zone and so. My problem is that you will permit them there, but you will not, but you want to remove the market vendors and others that are not your family, friends, and favorite. There is a counselor, the lead counselor, that has been pushing for the removal of roadside vendors. He has a business right there, and this serves to complement his business, because when you have things like hot dog and so selling there, then it attracts people, and he has a little nightclub right there. And so when it suits them, friends, family, and favorites, they give them permission for that. But then the others, they run them down and try to bulldoze them. And I just wanted to make that point. I wanted to make another point here. I'm told that there is an Afro-Guyanese person there who they were given hell there, that she had to remove from there. So you have the others, the family and friends. She's squeezing herself, but you want to get rid of her. That is how the PPP operates. Moving on, we want to touch health, because we've been talking a lot about infrastructure. Now, I'll get straight into health. The Saudi hospital, as you can see the slide there, Saudi hospital with a leaky roof. Now, they would have spent billions of dollars, and they boast about this. Yes. They boast about this. Billions being spent on refurbishing hospitals. And when the job is completed, you have the roof leaking. You have the roof leaking. If you can go to the next slide, I want to show you the two faces of the PPP. I want to show you. Now, this is a slide from 2017. We came into power. We found a broken system. We obviously had to spend time sorting it out and then coming up with the right program. So in 2017, we were being criticized here. And this, I pulled up this article. This where it's in Starbrook News. And the council, if you can move to the next slide. Here, the councillor Arnold Adams, according to him, he was the chairman of the Regional Health Committee for Region 2. He's now the Prime Minister rep, and he's very silent now. He called the collapse of the roof an example of how public health is being neglected in the region. He's talking about APNO AFC. A few months later, we refurbished that place and we got it in tip-top shape, and never again. You understand me? Never again. But this guy is sitting on the RDC. He is a councillor, one of their lead persons in the region. He's the Prime Minister rep, and he says nothing about the billions being wasted. Contract given to crony, not done according to specification. Cronies without competence and the required skills and experience. And you get a leaky roof, and the people of Essequibo are the ones that hold the messy end of the stick at the end of the day when they finish pulling their pockets. That is the level of hypocrisy, the two faces of the PPP that we see in Region 2, and we see it every day across this country. So I wanted to highlight that. If we can move along to the next slide. Now, this is the recently launched dialysis center. And when I looked at the picture, and this is multi-million dollars again. Look, right now they talk about multi-million or billions. That is what they talk about. Yeah. And so Frank was down there, Region 2, and so they did two commissioning. They commissioned this dialysis center. Now, I welcome it. I welcome free dialysis. In fact, it was the APNO AFC who lambasted them when they sought to give only the $600,000 to the patients. We said it was a better option. We have no problem with giving these patients $600,000. But then again, why not put free dialysis in all the major hospitals? Yeah. Put free CAT scan, free MRI, free dialysis. These are things that you would expect in an oil-rich country, 100%. A country with billions upon billions pouring in every day. And so I was wondering, why is it that you only see all of them crowded up there by a door, and you're not really seeing pics of the center, this new dialysis center? Mm-hmm. Because in fact, what they did was to take a room somewhere at Saudi Hospital and put in a machine. We don't know whether it's a new machine or it's a used machine. I will get to that. I will show the public tonight where they spend tens of millions of dollars and then give you some used thing. We will come to that shortly. But if you can go to the next slide. So I managed to pick up from one of the media the inside. So I cannot say whether it's new, whether it's current, the machine there. But what we know is that there is a machine. We welcome it. It is a good development. It is something that we asked for, we pushed for in the last budget. We lambasted the government on it. And so we are happy, even if it's a used machine, we are happy that persons can get free dialysis because it is not by no means cheap. You have to pay passage to go to Georgetown and all these different things. You have to incur significant expense.
Yeah, well, dialysis is always one of the more expensive procedures because you have to do it regularly.
Yes.
So it's really
and your life depends on it, and so you don't have a choice.
Your life depends on it. It's a hardship. So it's good that we're gonna have dialysis facilities that are publicly available. One of the other things I'd say is even if you give people funds for dialysis, whether they'll be able to access the right facilities depends now on the private sector, and that is unclear. So it is good that we're having that, but at the same time, you need to have a dialysis system and type of public infrastructure when it comes to health that is up to the right standards and that is value for money. Because there's no point in spending a huge amount and then ultimately you're not getting the value. One of the things we want to remind citizens is that the national budget is nearly 50% bigger than it was last year.
And they boasted about that.
Does it feel to you like you got 50% more from this government this year?
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. And we've proven on this program that you're not. In fact, you're getting less than what you had before, what you initially started
the
with.
Money keeps going into this hole, and where, when you ask yourself where exactly is money gone, you can't really even say they're throwing money on the fire. And as a result, you can't see money actually put towards what needs to be put towards.
Yeah. Now, quickly, and we'll get to your topic. We got about 15 minutes more that extended program time. And so that dialysis center, though, what I recognize is that only one patient, I believe is only one patient at a time. So that is a bottleneck, but we'll have to confirm that. But moving along to the newly commissioned water ambulance, we welcome any development like this. The people of Region 2 needs these kinds of development. But you're not allowed to tell us that $24 million is for something when we know that it cannot be 24 million. When we can see with our own eyes that this is some kind of used vessel. Some kind of used vessel. Operator, just zone into that picture for who didn't see. I look at it. Frank and others are so proud to say $24 million. $24 million for that. For that. And they faced remarkable criticism when they put it up. And so they pulled out, there were worse pictures of it from the back by the engineer. And they pulled it out because they were facing criticism. I don't know when the PPP will come to learn that, these things just catch up with you. They catch up with you. You can't hoodwink the people in that way. 24 million for what? Look at what APNU AFC did. How many water ambulances we put out there for far less, operator. Look at that. Look at that. Far less than $24 million. I can guarantee you that, and it's only in 2019. That is a proper water ambulance. That is a proper. If you can move to the next slide, operator. That is a proper. Compare the two. Is chalk and cheese.
Exactly.
One is more expensive. You pay more for less.
You
pay more for less. We had proper procurement systems. We weren't focused on only friends and family and favorites. And so people got value for their money. And this is what I want the people of Essequibo to understand. This is what you will continue to get with a PPP government. This is what you will continue. You will always be shortchanged at the end of the day. Now, I want to quickly raise the issue of how they treat patients at the Saudi hospital. Now, relatives of this deceased, God rest his soul, um, provided a picture for me, and this was how they had the father, their uncle,
Yeah.
their cousin. This was how he met
Yeah.
his demise. This is how he died. Bed without sheet, had him under any condition, a ridiculous
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah.
And I don't want to blame
Inhumane condition.
inhumane. Thank you, inhumane. And so it is very heart wrenching when you
Yeah.
look at this photo.
Yeah.
The girl was in tears when
I
she
bet.
told me about it, and I said, "Send me a picture."
Yeah,
And
I
I
can
promised
only
not to put
imagine.
his face out there, but the
Yeah.
people of Region 2 know. And so I don't want to blame the doctors and nurses there. They are on their way out. There is shortage of doctors,
Yeah.
shortage of nurses, and that is because of the way they're being treated, the domination and control, the fact that they have not been given any increase, the
Exactly.
conditions under which they have to work. And so that is what you will get
Yeah.
when you have an incompetent government, a government that is corrupt, a government that is discriminatory, because they discriminate against the public servants. And once people feel discriminated against,
Yeah.
and they don't have any job satisfaction, they're not getting an increase,
Yeah.
people are discriminating against them, they will not give you 100%.
Yeah. Well,
So
they'll be motivated.
I'm in no way, Elson, blaming the nurses. And I want to pause there for now. I was going to the PVP proposed 8%, and you might probably capture it. The PVP 8% proposed to the public servants against what we were calling a livable wage. At least $150,000 by the leader of the opposition made that pronouncement just shortly, and we've been calling for a livable wage based on the cost of living increases that we've seen over the last 2 years since this PVP came to office. And so I would invite you to speak to the issue of the cost of living. I know the Minister of Finance would have made some pronouncement, and so I open the floor for
Yeah,
you.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, the PVP would like for the whole of Guyana to believe that Guyana is not producing any oil, there's no money being made, and so you have to live with whatever little punishment allocations you get. There's nothing that you can really benefit from in this country. That's what they would like people to think. And so when it is mentioned that there's a high rate of poverty in Guyana, what they'd like to say is, oh, this was under the coalition. This is something that happened under the coalition. It has nothing to do with us. But one of the things that we really want to help people to understand is that, and there's a World Bank report which indicated that there's a 48% poverty rate in Guyana, and that from 2019 this has been the case. But when you look at what has happened over the course of the past couple of years, with very high food inflation, that by Christmas this year really will be about 25% inflation in the cost of food, you're seeing that people's everyday existence, that the people's actual standards of living has fallen. And when it comes to poverty, and this is a point that we really want to help people to understand, the share of your budget that is spent on food, for poor people, they spend more on food as a percentage of the budget. They don't have as much to spend on all the other trinkets and so on, which is understandable. So they spend on food. So when food prices now go through the roof, what it means is that it is the poor people of the country who are most affected by that. It is actually the poor people in this country who are most affected. And so what has happened is that you've seen things get much more difficult for poor people in this country. And so you would expect to see the poverty rate increase under the PVP. That is what is going on. We sometimes operate from this perspective as if the government doesn't do anything about cost of living, it's a victimless crime. There's no big deal, they just didn't give. Real people suffer when the government does not do something about a cost of living crisis. Real people, the vulnerable in the society, suffer. How can you have a government benefit from an unexpected 300 million US, give or take, due to the high oil price, benefit from all that unexpected revenue. The Bank of Ghana even said in a half-year report that we got about 33% more revenue than we expected to get.
Yeah.
You have that billions and billions of dollars in Ghana terms, $60 billion at least
And
available.
Elson, if I can come in right here, we would have proposed to the government that you use that excess money that you would have got to cushion the effects of the high
100%
cost
been
of
saying
living.
that all year long. We've been saying that the latest thing that we've indicated is that this 60 billion works out to about $300,000 per household. $300,000, and we're saying that whether you do it gradually and so on, that money needs to be given to households to cushion the impact of the cost of living crisis. That is the bare minimum that they deserve. Sometimes they like to say, oh, well, they give fishermen this and they give cane farmers that. But even when the fishermen get 150,000, we just demonstrated to you that there's 300,000 available. So where are the other 150,000 gone?
Yeah.
And that is even when you get a cash grant, much less when you didn't get a cash grant.
Yeah.
This is the type of nonsense that we've been seeing all year. This is where the government has deliberately decided not to help people, despite the fact that they have had an excess, unexpected amount of resources available to help people. My goodness, isn't that cruel?
Yeah, most definitely. But this is not a government that cares about that. This is a government that only does or involves in projects that would benefit them personally.
Yeah.
Once there isn't a scope for corruption, they don't pursue it. If there's a scope for corruption, yes. And in the case of these cash grants, in the case of the flood relief, we saw what happened.
Yeah.
We're still awaiting the audit. Ali, remember in 2020, Ali ordered that the Auditor General on the 17th of December, 2020, ordered that the Auditor General audit this thing and produce a report. We're in 2022. Just now will be the 17th of December 2022. And it will not come. It will never come.
Yeah.
It will never come. The COVID cash grant was the same thing. The fisher folks, we saw taxi drivers and all sorts of people, but they like it that way. And they give raw cash because when you handle the raw cash, it is easier. So
it's easy to siphon off.
Siphon off. And so you'd have a lot of siphoning off at the lower level, which creates much confusion and inability to track. And so the real money, the real siphoning off occurs at the top. But they use the lower level, put that money and encourage them. Look, you encourage people to steal.
And I'll tell you this, which is interesting and which maybe some Guyanese have sussed out already. The reason that they're not giving this $300,000 is because they're holding it back for the friends, family, and favorites. That $300,000, which amounts to 300 million US, they're holding it back for friends, families, and favorites. And so what you'll likely see is they'll put out some of these same infrastructure projects we're talking about, which will never properly manifest themselves. And that's how the friends, family, and favorite will benefit, as opposed to the average citizen getting cost of living relief. This is what is going on because they've had an entire year, that whole supplemental budget, which was the perfect opportunity to address the cost of living crisis, but almost nothing in that supplemental for the cost of living crisis. And so we've talked about Region 2, we talked nationally. But one of the things that I think that people in Region 2 should really rise up and put pressure on the government about is, ultimately, they are feeling the squeeze just as much as we are feeling the squeeze in town, just as much as people in Region 10 are feeling the squeeze. Nationally, something needs to be done. What is the point of having oil, making more money, if you don't use the oil money to actually benefit the people? This money is for friends, family, and favorites.
360,000 barrels per day.
Yeah.
Just figure that. 360,000 per day, every day. Every day.
Every single
360.
In only 3 months of this year, the country made nearly $500 million from oil revenues in just 3 months.
Yeah.
But folks, if you continue to bother the PEP, you're gonna continue to punish because they're happy to leave you there punishing.
I know Ashney made some comment. You want to comment on it?
Yeah, so what he had indicated, what he's trying to do really is to say that the 48% poverty figure that was cited as a figure from 2019 But what we are seeing is that there's an increase in poverty from 2019 to
So it
now.
might be higher. In fact, it might
It
be
should
higher.
indeed be higher because of the cost of living crisis and because poor people are the ones who are affected the most
Yeah.
by these types of inflation, high food price crises.
Yeah.
And so it really should be more. So what we're seeing in terms of an increase in poverty is exactly correct.
Yeah. 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 They always do this. It's like the other day I was looking at the Gordon Mosley posted something on the price for chicken in Region 7. And immediately you had Ministry of Agriculture debunking it, showing some Pompey shop and some other shop. And then you had the Chronicle pushing that narrative. No, the prices are stable. Well, I don't know what stable means. Stable does not mean affordable.
Not at all.
It does not mean.
The thing that I find entertaining about this, they can try and put out this propaganda, but everybody who eats knows the truth.
Yes.
And that's everybody.
Yeah. Every single body. Maybe the ministers, their bread, well buttered.
Well buttered.
And so they don't see a problem.
Yeah.
They don't see a problem. Sometimes I try to think, these people that are forced to write this propaganda and they know the truth, they themselves
as long
are
as they eat it.
punishing under this PPP government. And they're being forced to put out such propaganda.
It's a rough job. It's a rough job.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But it's stubbornness. It's stubbornness. We're coming close to program time. I see my operator signaling me.
Yeah.
I think we had a very fruitful discussion tonight.
Absolutely. Always good to
there
have a
is so
chat.
much more that we could have said tonight, so much more that I had on my list to discuss. But we are half an hour, 30 minutes overtime tonight. And so I hope that we did justice. I hope that our viewing audience are satisfied with what we had to put out today and the facts and evidence presented. And so I want to thank you for being on the program. I want to thank the viewing audience. Folks, this is Live from Region 2. This is a program that is intended to be region specific, bring the issues that are affecting the people of the region. And I would want to encourage you to continue to look at it. Every Thursday at 6:30, continue to look at it, but you don't have to wait until Thursday 6:30. You can forward your complaints, forward your comments, forward your pictures to my page or my number. My number is 600-4201. Forward those pictures, forward those complaints to me, and I can highlight them on the program. One of the things I intend to do is to have a call-in segment. When the program is not so packed, I intend to introduce a call-in segment. So you can look forward to that very, very shortly, so that you can bring your issues live on air, and so we can have them ventilated. We can have our input, and persons in Region 2 and around the country can understand the state of the region. That is our focus. You can also get an understanding of what is the APNU's vision and what we intend to do to improve your lives and to correct some of these wrongs that are currently happening under the PPP government. I want to thank you once again, thank Elson, and say good night, and see you next Thursday, 6:30, same time, same place for Live in Region 2.
And